This is big news. A German mega corporation just used the blockchain, the Polygon blockchain, to issue a bond, a 60 million euro bond. It's the very first time we see a traditionally large company using the blockchain to such an extent for such a large transaction without being afraid of the regulatory risk behind all of this. Now, what's the company? It's Germany-based Siemens. Siemens, the third largest company in the German equity index in the German DAX. It's got 303,000 employees and they just issued their 60 million euro bond using the Polygon blockchain. Now in this video, let's look at the press release around all of this. Let's read through this line by line so we don't lose any kind of detail. Let's also look at the person behind all of this, who's the brainchild. Let's look at the issuer of that bond, who helped actually issuing this bond, and make sure that Siemens is still within regulatory frameworks. And then last but not least, let's look at the traditional market. How did traditional finance react to all of this? Did the Siemens stock appreciate relative to the DAX or depreciate relative to the DAX? Are they spooked because of all the regulatory risks? Or are they excited for the potential opportunity? So first things first, let's go through this very slowly. So this is the press release. Siemens issues first digital bond on the blockchain, first digital bond on public blockchain in accordance with Germany's Electronic Securities Act. Siemens is a pioneer in ongoing digital transformation on capital and securities markets. Now this is to a certain degree, of course, also a branding exercise because Siemens does have a pretty large consulting arm. So if they are able to issue a bond on the blockchain, there is a good chance that they are also trying to sell this to their consulting clients, basically spreading this whole approach and helping other companies gain some branding from all of this. So the bond has a volume of 60 million and it's got a maturity of 1 year, so a very simple bond, and it's sold directly to investors via classic payment, via bank account. Now, why is this interesting? The issuance here seems to not just have happened to the public, right? Otherwise, you and me would have heard about this. This happened through private banking, and we're going to this later in this video. But basically, it's for very, very rich people, for ultra high net worth individuals with at least 5 million euros or so. Those are the kind of people that get access to private banking, and those are the kind of people that were able to buy this. So Siemens is one of the first companies in Germany to issue a digital bond in accordance with Germany's Electronic Securities Act, Gesetz über elektronische Wertpapiere, EWPG. Okay, so everything in Germany has to have an abbreviation. Worth 60 million, it has a maturity of 1 year and is underpinned by a public blockchain, the Polygon blockchain. Issuing the bond on the blockchain offers a number of benefits compared to previous processes. For instance, it makes paper-based global certificates and central clearing unnecessary. Central clearing unnecessary, very interesting, right? So a middleman is getting cut out here. What's more, the bond can be sold directly to investors without needing a bank to function as an intermediary. So the banks only were used for the payment processing, but not for the transfer of the bond. So the bond itself, the record on the blockchain, seems to be the thing that defines the ownership here. That being said, we have this later in the video as well. There's still a third custody holding over here. Okay, so the bank that's issuing this is also holding custody of the bond. It's not self-custodied by the individual owners. Okay. So with our innovative products and technologies, Siemens supports the digital transformation of its customers with great success, right? Digital transformation of its customers, of its consulting customers, of course, as well. It is therefore only logical that we test and utilize the latest digital solutions in finance too. We are proud to be one of the first German companies to have successfully issued a blockchain-based bond. This makes Siemens a pioneer in the ongoing development of digital solutions for the capital and securities market, said Ralph P. Thomas, CFO of Siemens AG. Now, how did I hear about all of this? I heard about this because of a post that had been made here in the premium channel. So we've got the premium membership for Bitcoin Strategy. We discuss all kinds of interesting news. This definitely stood out, and there is more discussion around this here as well. Let's go on with the article, with the press release, it has been possible to issue blockchain-based digital bonds in Germany since the Electronic Securities Act came into effect in June of 2021. Siemens has used the new possibilities of the Electronic Security Act and sold the securities directly to investors without engaging established central security depositories, right? Cutting out the middleman. Payments were made using classical methods as the digital euro was not yet available at the time of the transaction, making the hint, right, that Siemens might now also require the digital euro, which can be a good or bad thing, right? Some people say these central bank digital currencies might be a problem, as in it can track transactions, right? You have even more oversight by central governments. On the other hand, you also will have more adoption of crypto in general, very likely, as a result of this. So I'm kind of split on this. I'm actually for a digital euro, even though I'm not going to use it that much. I think it's good in general if a digital euro or digital dollar does exist, because it's very likely going to help also with the adoption with the current crypto that we already have. So the transaction was able to be completed within just 2 days. By moving away from paper and towards public blockchains for issuing securities, so this is now getting even broader, right? It looks like Siemens doesn't just want to issue bonds with this that have a 1-year maturity, but long-lasting securities, maybe equities after a while. We can execute transactions significantly faster and more efficiently than when issuing bonds in the past. Thanks to our successful cooperation with our project partners, we have reached an important milestone in the development of digital currencies in digital securities in Germany, said Peter Rathgeb, corporate treasurer at Siemens. We are going to actively drive their ongoing development. And here is the bank. Haug Aufhäuser Lampe Private Bank AG acted as the bond registrar and for the transaction. DK Bank, DZ Bank, and Uninvest invested in the bond. So here we go. This is where do we have the bank? Here we have that bank, right? It's the German leading private bank, and it's pretty conservative. Okay, so it's the conservative guys that have dealt in finance for quite a while, the conservative companies that try now to adopt the blockchain simply just to help with digital transformation and to push branding and potentially also to get new clients into this, right? This is all a matter of adopting new technologies, and blockchain and AI, etc. are, of course, now the big hype. The question is now, right? This is, by the way, this is the corporate treasurer, has been with Siemens for a long time, at least in the Siemens ecosystem, right? 18 years almost. These are not just random people that, bet their whole career on some random project. This brought a lot of echo, right? It brought a lot of attention on Siemens. And so Siemens obviously is pretty safe in doing this. They've studied this in and out to make sure they're not going to do any wrongdoing here. So I see this in a way that Siemens is very likely going to continue doing similar things, is very likely going to spread this to other companies as well. And there is now a real push to blockchain adoption by a very, very significant player. Now let's look at the stock performance. Okay, so this was issued on the 14th of February. And what you see over here is actually a price development that you usually don't see. So most people, they look at stocks simply just by looking at the euro or at the US dollar chart. Okay, so Siemens, let's just look at, do I have anywhere? Yes, etc. Siemens AG. So most people just look at stocks in the euro chart, for example, right? So they would take the 14th, where do we have the 14th of February? Something like this, right? 14th of February, and they would say, okay, the announcement didn't do much. Siemens was pretty much flat. But the problem is always, as you might have already noticed, stocks and crypto also, they are very, very highly correlated to one another, right? So when the stock market in general is going down, maybe because interest rates are likely going to hike again and because inflation rates are bad, etc., everything is going down and vice versa. You've got a lot of correlation happening. So when you look at these kinds of performances that are news driven, and when you want to look at idiosyncratic movements, what's better than just looking at the euro stock or the US dollar stock. Instead of just looking at that kind of a chart, what you want to do is you want to divide this by whatever you think is the best benchmark for that stock or for that crypto, right? When you've got an altcoin, you want to divide this maybe by the Bitcoin price. When you've got the Siemens stock, you might want to divide this by the DAX price. And then you want to look at how did this perform. And that's now the relative performance, right? So now we know, even if the DAX went down and Siemens went down in the same manner, this chart here would simply just go sideways, right? Because now we just look at outperformance. How much better or worse did Siemens do? And yeah, this is the performance since announcement. So after the announcement, the price basically shot up by 5%, which is a lot when we consider that Siemens is the third largest company in the German equity index, right? This is a heavyweight. And yeah, since then, the price simply just stayed elevated. So the relative valuation of Siemens to the DAX did very well following this announcement, which might then, as a result, become a role model for other companies, right? When Siemens can show, okay, we have outperformed, we have had very good performance because of this announcement, maybe you want to implement this as well. It's cheaper to do than just the traditional way. You get a bit of branding in here. You adopt the new technology, which can then grow also into other use cases. With all of this, Siemens has laid a pretty nice foundation. And this is obviously good for crypto as a whole, right? If the regulatory risk gets cut out to a certain degree, if there are use cases for the blockchain that are not ambiguous, right? For crypto staking, for example, we've got a lot of problems potentially now. Because the SEC is trying to clamp down on this. If you've got use cases that are clear where big companies are behind all of this, this helps the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. So I think this is very, very good news. We are discussing this, of course, more in the Telegram group, right? So feel free to join us. That's the link down there. Looking forward to see you there. And of course, see you in the next video as well. Bye-bye.